Hi, welcome back. We are going to now work on the file processing part of this assignment. So if I navigate here in my project, so it's on my desktop, in my project, I have my source code right here that I'm working on, and I have this file that I took off of Canvas, but you can also create your own file. Just call it gas account with a capital A, balance, just like it is, and it has $25 in it. So what we want to do is we want to, instead of setting our balance, reading in our balance by initializing it, we want to read in our balance by getting it from a file. So we're going to declare a file pointer. We're going to call it in pointer. And again, I'm assuming that you've watched the lectures on file processing. And then we're going to connect to the file. To connect to the file, you use a function called fopen. You put the name of the file, and then you put read or write, depending. Fopen is used for reading, and fopen is also used for writing. In this case, we want to read. We want to get the data from the file. Then we want to use fscanf. And we put our file pointer first. We're going to be reading in a double. So fscanf is used just like scanf, only you have to add which file you're reading from by the file pointer. And we want to read into our balance in main. And then we're going to print it. Printf. The balance is %.2f All right, so we're going to read in, we're going to connect, we have our file pointer, we're going to open the file, we're going to use fscanf to get the balance from the file, and we're going to print it. So let's try it and see what happens. The balance is $25. Okay, that works. Now if I were to go here, let me close all of these so I can start over. All right, so if I were to navigate back to that and put in there $615 and save it, what's going to happen when I run it? The balance is $615. So it's just reading in whatever value I put into this file is being read into my program. So instead of saying here at the beginning, balance equals $25, it's going to get the balance from the file. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. All right, so then after we get the balance from the file, and then we're going to, throughout the program, we're going to make changes to the balance. So let's just make a change to the balance just to practice. So we'll say balance in main. And this we're going to equals $350. So this is not part of the program. This is just going over the file processing. So I got the balance was $25. Now I change it to $350, and now I'm going to put the $350 back into the file. So the way that I do that, this in pointer is only for reading. So, before I do that, I just want to show you what happens if I spell this wrong. So I have a file called gas account balance. It's not called gas account balance 111. So hopefully this will cause an error when I go to run, and it'll crash. Visual Studio has been very, yes. All right, so that's crashing. This is a runtime error that's crashing because I was not able to find the file. You don't have to force it to find the file. You don't have to write a loop to find the file. All you have to do is make sure that you spell the file name exactly correct as it's supposed to be spelled. So don't misspell it. All right, so let's test again. Every time I make a change, I just want to make sure that it finds it. Okay, it's $25. Okay, so now let's take this and put the 350 into the output file. So the output file, this happened, okay, so we do this whole loop and everything. Whenever the user hits quit, we are at the end of our program. We are right here before return 0. So this should actually not work without a return 0. So I added my return 0, and I'm going to connect to my output file. It's the same file. So if I spell this incorrectly, it's going to create a new file in the same directory as my source code, but it will not put it into the same file. So make sure that this is spelled exactly right, and you use a W, which means to write to the file. And then you use fprintf to put the information in the file. Then you say goodbye to the user, and then you close both of your file pointers, and then you do return 0. So what's going to happen now, if we read through the code, is it should connect to the file, take the $25 from the file, change the value of that to 350, and then put 350 into the file. And so let's see what happens. It's $25. I quit. I have 350. So now if we run it again, it's going to read in $350. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. All right, see, it read in the $350. And if I navigate to that file, it now has $350. So I have to go back and fix that. Change it back to 25 so we can go on and work on our program. All right, so play around with the files, see what happens. It's not that hard to recognize that this file is in your project, and it's just a text file, and it only needs one number in it because that's the balance. And once you got a good understanding of how that file is working, then you can start to finish to implement your program. All right, so let's get started on implementing our program. So in order to do that, I of course want to get rid of this. I already told you guys you're going to greet your user. We are viewing and getting the selection. So the next thing we can do is process selection, sort of. We can at least get enough of the process selection done from program 6. So I'm going to go into program 6 code, which is on my desktop. And I have already implemented my process selection function. And that's very nice because that way I don't have to type this up again. So I'm going to go here to my program and scroll down here to my process selection and see what happens here. All right, so in my process selection, there are a couple things added for this assignment. You're going to need to add the item number, the price, and the total to your process selection. In program 6, we did not do that. We did a balance, but we didn't calculate a total of the amount of gas, and we did not do anything with the item number. We just updated the balance. So we're going to be, of course, working with that, but let's just do one thing at a time. So our process selection, if you select G, you're going to display the gas prices. We have not implemented that function yet. If you select P, you're going to make a purchase, so we're going to have to work on that. If you select B, we can display the current balance, so B should work. If you select U, you can update the balance by adding an amount. So this amount should not be here. This amount is already declared, should be up here. All right, so this is the amount that the user wants to add to their total. So we're going to ask the user for the amount that they want to add and add that to their balance. Go back to program 6. And if they pick anything other than that, then it's not valid. So let's make sure that those are the choices we have. The choices are G, P, B, U, and Q. All right, so we have G, P, B, U, and Q. So B and U are already implemented. But now we got to do the hard part, the actual purchase. So let's make sure that this works. And it should also now all of these warnings I'm getting are because I have not finished implementing the program, but at the end you shouldn't have any warnings. But now this will be very interesting because if you select U, you're going to change the amount and then that's going to be saved into the file. So we should start out with $25. So there's $25, and now if I want to add money, I can add. Oh, and it's not working. And hopefully those of you who are watching this understands why it's not working. It's not working because I never called this function. So I need to make a function call to this function. That's funny. Let's get up here in my loop here. I need to process the selection by passing my choice and the address of my balance. Again, we already did this in program 6. So you get the choice. You make sure it's not a queue. This is initialization. Get the choice. Make sure it's not a queue. Pass that choice here to process. Pass the address of input-output parameter of the balance. Process is going to take the choice or the selection and the address of the balance, and then it's going to do whatever you want based on what you selected. And now we should be able to update the balance and see what happens. All right, so add U. I'm going to add $456.20. And now I'm going to quit. So I have $481.20. So my file should now have $481.20 in it. And it does. So now if I were to run the program again, I would start with $481 in my account. So I want you to realize that this amount is going to change every time you execute. So you can either go back and change it back to $25. It doesn't really matter because the grader is going to grade with a file in their own project with $25 in it. So, but if you want to keep up with it and keep it accurate, you can go back and keep changing it to $25. All right, so now we've gone here, and what do we have left to implement? Let's look at our functions. So we've implemented the process selection function. We've implemented the greeting, the view and get selection function. So now we need to implement the display gas prices function. Display gas prices function is very easy. All we have to do is a bunch of printf statements that displays the gas prices. So I'm going to go here into my program 4 code. And I do have the gas prices function. The only difference here is I'm not going to ask for the selection or anything. I'm just going to print the gas prices. So all this function does here is displays the gas prices. All right, so now we have our function definition done and it's time to test it. So when do we call display gas prices? We call this function if the user selects G, then we're going to call this function. All right, so I've made a change. I will build it and select G and make sure that it's working. Yep, there we are. We are displaying our gas prices. All right. Next, another time I might want to display the gas prices is if a user wants to make a purchase, we probably want to let them know the gas prices, right? So we might want to display it again. The nice thing is now we have this option at any time we want to display the gas prices, we just call this function display gas prices and we can display them. So I'm going to display them if the user enters P or if the user enters P, all right, or if the user enters G. Perfect. All right, so the only other thing left to do is making a purchase. So let's go down here and look at our functions and see what we got. All right, so this function, get the gas choice, I've already helped you out. All this function does is it tells the user, it takes the item number and tells the user to select. So we can call this function now. You're not going to call this function on a G, but you would call this function on a P. So look at this. We just call this function and we pass it the address of the item. Now, where does that item variable come from? I don't know, because it doesn't seem to be working because I called that variable item number. So I'm going to pass the address of the item number. I display the choices. This is when I make a purchase. This is all I have left to implement. Display the choices, get the choice. Let's see that that's, and then I want to print to make sure that it's working. Printf, \n, you chose %d. All right, build. See if it's working. All right, P, here's the choices. Pick the number 4. You chose 4. P, pick the number 1. You chose 1. Quit. We haven't done anything with our balance. All right, so now all we have to do is implement a couple more functions. We displayed the gas price, we get the choice. So I'm going to leave these for you to do. You're going to have to set the price. I've already done the first 2 for you. So you're going to have to implement the set the gallon price. You're going to have to implement calculate the total. And then you get the add money from program 4 and the check for enough money from program 4. And then you will have completed this program. So good luck. And if you need any help, please reach out to me or the TAs.